All right, let's go to agenda item number 19, committee reports. 9A, Finance Committee report, Committee Chairman Gil Yannick. Informational, the Commission will hear a report on the committee's recent meeting. Mr. Yannick, good to see you.
Your microphone's up. You may move it back up there? We can't see you behind the podium.
I'll stand on a chair. For the record, Joe Yannick or no? Now it's green. Got the green light, guys. Thank you. For the record, Gil Yannick, Chairman of the Nevada Board of Wildlife Commission Finance Committee. The committee met on Friday, May 17th, 2019, 8:45 a.m. Present were committee members Yannick, Dixon, and Commissioner Johnston telephonically. NDOW staff that was present was Deputy Director Liz O'Brien, Deputy Director Jack Robb, ASO Katie Jameson, and Budget Analyst Bruce McDaniel. There was no public present at the meeting. At 8:45 a.m., the call to order and roll call by Chairman Yannick. President Reno was Chair Yannick. Attending telephonically were members Dixon and Johnston. The next item was the approval of the agenda, and Member Johnston made a motion to accept the agenda as submitted. The motion was seconded by Member Dixon. The motion passed unanimously. The next item was approval of the minutes from the June 15th, 2018 Finance Committee meeting. There were no public comments. There were no comments or correction to the minutes, and a motion was made by Member Johnston to approve the minutes as submitted. The motion was seconded by Member Dixon. The motion passed unanimously. There were no member items. The next order of business was the state fiscal year 2020 budget request. The members of the Finance Committee reviewed the data provided by Department Budget Analyst McDaniel. Chair Yannick reviewed the reported balances of several county advisory boards, and discussion ensued regarding the difficulties some counties were experiencing finding members of the community to serve on the county advisory boards. And this is not the first time we've had to talk about that. I indicated at the meeting that I would bring it up at this meeting here in Hawthorne and asked the chairman if a workshop could be scheduled during the lunch period at an upcoming commission meeting. It was suggested to do the meeting in Ely in August, but after talking to a number of the different CAB chair people, they were asking if it couldn't be done at a meeting either in Reno or Las Vegas, where it's a televised event and some people in some of the outlying areas could possibly attend. So that's a decision that the commission will have to come to an agreement as to what's in the best interest of getting the best attendance at this meeting, because this was a very frustrating event trying to collect all the data this year. A lot of the cabs suffered a loss of memberships. People who joined the cabs really weren't fully advised of what their responsibilities and duties were. So that was the reason for making the recommendation that we need to review the responsibilities of these people and where they can get the information that tells them what their responsibilities are. There's an excellent handbook that was generated a good number of years ago, and it has been kept up to date, but a lot of the people that I talked to weren't aware of its availability. So hence the importance of maybe holding another session to bring people up to date as to what we expect from them, where they get the information, and where do they go if they have questions. The next item was there was no Further discussion and a motion was made by Chair Yannick to approve the CAB budget request recommendation to the Wildlife Commission in the amount of $36,526. The motion was seconded by Member Dixon. The motion passed unanimously, and there was no public comment. There's no future meetings set at this particular time. I express my appreciation to the members of the Finance Committee for their time and their efforts to review the various documents, and express appreciation to Deputy Director O'Brien, ASO Katie Jameson, and Budget Analyst McDaniel for their tremendous effort to assemble the CAB budget submittals and to arrive at the final budget recommendation. There was no further comments. Last item was the meeting. Since there were no further additional comments, Chair Yannick made a motion to adjourn. The motion was seconded by Member Dixon and passed unanimously. The meeting was adjourned at 9:20. If anybody on the commission has any questions about the amount or the budgets or the allocations for the various county advisory boards, I'd be glad to try to answer your questions.
Any questions?
Well, the only question I have is, should we get the handbooks out to everybody, or how do you, I mean, if there's a feeling that nobody knows what their responsibilities or duties are, and there's a handbook that can tell them all this.
It's available online.
So you're just saying they don't know about it, or they're just willingly staying ignorant of it?
I think some of the problem becomes first of all, the problem is getting people to serve on the committee, on the local cabs. That's been a challenge. It's either feast or famine sometimes, unfortunately. The issue of when somebody leaves the local advisory board and the county advertises that there's an opening and somebody applies, they supposedly go before the county commission, and the commission has the responsibility of making a selection from people that apply. Now, as far as the training goes, you naturally would think that people who are on that cab, who have been there, pass the information on to the incoming new members of the cab. It doesn't always happen, because number one, it's difficult to get people to serve on the boards. And then when they get to serve, the other person's walking away, and there's nobody to tell them, oh, you're going to be the treasurer. You have to do this, this, and this. And, sometimes the person understands. Sometimes the person tells the new person, where do you get the information? Or gives him or her the copy of the manual that they printed out, or tell them where they get it online. It's not rocket science. I mean, people are doing this because they're interested in wildlife, they're interested in conservation, they're interested in doing something for the community. We just need to remind them periodically, oh, these are your responsibilities, because somebody on that advisory board has to put together a budget as to what their expenditures are going to be to attend the various meetings. And there was a lot of misconception about what is included in the fees and expenses that we're going to reimburse them for. Because we've had some cabs, when I started going around and we weren't getting responses, people didn't know what they had to do. They didn't know where to get the information. We didn't know where to send the emails that had the various forms that they needed to fill out and return to the department so we could put together the budget. So, I mean, the last seminar that I put on at lunch was in Reno, and it has to be at least 10 years ago. It was the last one that I can remember we put on. So I think it's about time. We've had enough turnover. There haven't been really any changes in their responsibilities or the way to fill out the form. In fact, the forms are so easy to fill out now. All the person has to do is check, you know, how many people, you know, how many days are you going? Are you going to drive? Are you going to fly? Do you need to rent a car? Are you going to have parking at the airport? And we also make it easy, depending on what county they live in, there are different rates as to where the meetings are held and what the reimbursement policies are for those particular counties, like Las Vegas, Reno, and then the rest of the state. So we try to make it just as easy as possible for people to put together their budget. And then we get information from the county treasurer as to what their balance in their account is. We see what their budget request is, what they have on hand, so to figure the augmentation, it's just simple math. This year, it was just difficult because we had difficulty finding out who was responsible for filling out the report. And then when you found the people, they said, well, yeah, I'm the new so-and-so, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So it took a little bit longer than what we normally see, because we had to do a little training over the phone rather than people being passed on from a previous member. I hope that in some way answers the question why it was an issue this year. And so, you know, I hope that we can try to schedule a meeting where we can take some time at lunch and spend at least 30 minutes or so with the people who are going to be responsible. And if the person attending is the chair and not the treasurer, or depending on who's going to really put together the budget, we'll work with any of them that show up. And if they want to call more information, they can call me, they can call Bruce McDaniel. We'll hold their hand and walk them through it. So at this time, I'd like to request that the commission.
Well, let's wait, because we have the informational item as 19A on the agenda, and before we take action, we'll go to 19B.
Thank you.
Okay, does that complete your report?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for the very thorough report. I appreciate it. So let's move on then to 19B, which is the action item, the fiscal year 2020 County Advisory Board Budget Requests, Committee Chairman Gil Yannick for possible action. The commission may approve an estimated amount of $36,526 to be added to the reported cash balance on hand for county advisory boards to manage wildlife budgets for fiscal year 2020. Each county estimate is set forth in the budget request form, backup material 19B. Mr. Yannick,
Yes.
anything to add to that?
No, sir.
Any public comment on the CAB budget requests? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the fiscal year 2020 County Advisory Board budget as presented.
A motion and second to approve the CAB budgets as requested. Everyone clear on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carried. Any opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Gil, I want to thank you for continuing to serve on the committee. I mean, it's probably the easiest committee to serve on because of all the legwork you do in advance of the committee meeting, and I do appreciate it. There all is challenge, and I can just speak from the time that I came on to the Lyon County CAB, and it quickly took on the role as chairman. And the next thing I know was like, hey, you need to do this budget. And I'm like, huh? What are you talking about? You know, and then there's things you have to get from the county, and you just need to go through it once. It's much like getting through a year on the commission, a year on the CAB. You kind of got to get through it once. Once you get through it once, you're okay. But the first time can be a little, you don't really know what's going on. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. With that, we'll close at commission, or agenda item 19B, and move on to commission agenda item 20, license appeal from Kyle Thistle for possible action. Mr. Thistle is appealing the denial of his 2019 sub-guide license renewal. I will ask, is Mr. Thistle here? I know I was informed that he was not going to come. And I'm just pulling up something, the administrative code that governs this hearing, so I have it for reference. Okay. Mr. Thistle's not here? All right. I think what I'd like to do is that NAC 501.185 is the administrative code section that sets forth the procedure for this hearing. Is that correct?
Brian Stockton, Senior Deputy Attorney General. Yes, that's correct.
So the first item is that the hearing will be called to order by the chair of the commission. So I'll call to order the hearing on Mr. Thistle's license appeal. The request for a hearing and notice of hearing will be entered into the record. As I have that is in our backup material, Mr. Thistle's appeal form dated April 2nd of 2018. It states he's denied, what he's appealing from is the denial of the renewal of his 2019 sub-guide license. The stated reasons for the appeal: the violations against my record were misunderstandings. I'd like an opportunity to explain them before the Board of Commissioners and set my record straight. The notice of the hearing is dated May 21st, 2019, from Tyler Turnipseed, Chief Game Warden, to Mr. Thistle. There's then evidence of that being delivered by return receipt. That's item number 5. So that enters into the record the request for the hearing and the notice of the hearing.
Mr. Chairman, just for the record, I'm just making offer of proof that we do have members of the department that could authenticate those documents if that question ever comes up.
All right. So I would note under the administrative code section that at this time then we would ask the appellant to present its evidence, and it would then be subject to cross-examination by the department. The appellant's not here, but the appellant has the burden of proof on this appeal to prove that the department acted inappropriately or abused its discretion or in some manner violated the law. What? Or there was error. Since he's not here, I'd be prepared to say he hasn't carried his burden of proof, especially since his appeal form says the violations against him were misunderstandings and he wanted to clarify the record. So, as of right now, I don't have any evidence before this commission that would suggest the department committed any type of error. And there's no need to go further with the appeal hearing.
Under NAC 501-179, the failure to appear is just cause to dismiss the appeal anyway, so you can go either route.
Any other thoughts from the commissioners on this? Commissioner Hubbs?
No, I think it's pretty clear what's in code, the next steps we need to follow.
Would you like to make a motion?
Could I get clarification of that code one more time from our dad?
It's NAC 501.179 is the dismissal upon failure of appellant to appear.
Okay, then, regarding agenda item number 20, the license appeal of Kyle Thistle, I would like to make a motion that pursuant to NAC 5109.579. Let me get that.
I'm sorry, it was 501.179.
Sorry, I had a number off. I take that back. Pursuant to NAC 501.179, the appellant has failed to appear to present his evidence today, and for that reason, I believe the commission should move to dismiss this action or appeal.
Second. Any further discussion or comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 8-0. With that, we'll move on to agenda item 21, future commission meetings and committee assignments. Secretary Tony Wasley and Chairman Johnston for possible action. The next commission meeting is scheduled for August 9th and 10th, 2019 in Ely. The commission will review and discuss potential agenda items for that meeting. The commission may change the time and meeting location at this time. The chairman may designate and adjust committee assignments as necessary at this meeting. I think one thing just that I have on my list is I would like to have a landowner compensation committee meeting. It seems that with the commission meeting being in Ely, it would be a relatively good location, although I know some of the issues are more down in Lincoln County. But I'd like to do that. But I think what I'd like to do is try to get that scheduled for Thursday evening if possible, because we have some opportunities to visit some places out there. And what I'd like to do is, given the location, is start the meeting early on Friday morning, like at 8 or 8:30, to give us enough time. And so I suspect most people would also be traveling in the night before anyway. So that's one reason to have that committee meeting in the evening. Perhaps we could even do it after like the dinner hour or something, like 6:30, 7 o'clock. Some of the things I have for the agenda: shed antler regulation. I don't know if we're going to get to AB 404 yet, but that's got to be coming up on the agenda soon. I think we were going to talk about the management guidelines and quota settings for deer at the meeting. I would, if we could, like to try to get smart scopes on the agenda. And I think what we should do there is informational. What is the current regulation that we have? Because I know we have the smart rifles regulation. And to the extent the department can research smart scopes, maybe try to understand what they are and what the technology is. We could get a report on that, and maybe we should do that as a possible action item, because we might give direction to the department. I have the Nevada test site and training range, but I think that's more for September. And I have the U-hunts, but that's for September as well. I think that's all I have. Oh, and I think we're going to do the deer as a cab workshop. We can certainly try to offer up a lunch break time on Friday or Saturday for cab budget luncheon. If Mr. Yannick is going to be in Ely, or Mr. Dixon would like to handle that workshop.
Well, when I polled some of the cabs, they asked about either Las Vegas or Reno.
Could you come up to the microphone? You're not on the tape.
Yeah, for the record, Gil Yannick, as I said earlier, after talking to some of the cabs about the meeting in Ely, about sending people who would need some instruction who have never done it before, some of the ones on the west side of the state asked to have it done either in Las Vegas or Reno, because more people might be attending.
I think then we'll hold off on that for September or November.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Valentine, do you have anything for the agenda?
No.
Yeah, one of the things I had a lot of people come up to me and request is that perhaps we could have the department give us a presentation on exactly how the tag draw system works, as far as the, just the overall system.
I didn't hear that, I'm sorry.
It would be a presentation on how the actual drawing works. I know Systems Consultants has done that in the past for particular cabs, but if we could get that presentation made so people, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding is actually how it functions in terms of random numbers being generated and how you are or not successful. So if we could get that on the agenda for August or September.
Yeah, what I would offer is that we can, through that CAB workshop and through the deer quota derivation process presentation, I would suggest that we could break that into 4 parts. We'd start with survey and inventory, explain how we survey deer, then go to the modeling, understand how we model in terms of ratios, gender, and then from that go to the actual quota derivation and how those are broken up by demand success, how we look at the 3-year average success, we look at the demand by weapon class, and then ultimately the 4th step is the actual conduction of the draw and how random numbers are assigned and pulled, so we can take it from the beginning to the end with those 4 pieces and let that CAB workshop item be an interactive discussion of those 4 pieces. I know that's a lot, but I think it's all good stuff that'll really help understanding. So I heard that expressed desire to have that draw piece yesterday, and thought we could just add it, and it just kind of ties a full loop there.
Okay.
I have a few other items if you're ready, Mr. Chairman. So as you said, August 9th, 10th, Ely we will not be video streaming or teleconferencing that commission meeting because it's a rural location. That's just kind of standard. The challenges with finding that equipment and connecting with other locations, we haven't been particularly successful in that. We will have the standing item of a conservation partner spotlight. We'll have possibility of a 10-year recognition award for employees in the Eastern region. I know we have at least one 30-year employee up there. We'll have the election of officers, chair and vice chair at that meeting. We'll have the WAFWA conference reports by Commissioner McNitch and myself, having recently returned from the WAFWA annual conference. We'll have a public works contracts report as required. That'll be on the agenda. And I think, as I heard today, there's a desire to maybe understand a little bit more about the Fallon range and testing complex timeline process comments that have already been submitted, just so there's a greater awareness of where the department perceives some conflicts and challenges and impacts to wildlife. Shed antler reg, I do think, Chairman Johnson, you'd mentioned AB 404. Since it requires the commission to actually define the extenuating circumstances or come up with some language in order for us to be able to act on that this year. The sooner that we could provide some language for your consideration, I think the better off we'll be. So as we build that agenda, we'd like to try to accommodate some initial discussions on that so that we can take advantage of the authorities in there to provide relief to tag holders.
So would that be then a regulatory workshop?
Yeah. I don't know that that language in terms of all the pieces being in place to workshop that we'd be able to get that complete, but we'll certainly try, and at a minimum it can be an informational that we could have some draft language and some discussion as far as hearing from the commission circumstances that you think meet that definition of extenuating to inform us and drafting some language to follow that formal process. But the sooner we start, the better on that. You'd mentioned the possibility of a field trip and maybe being able to do something Friday afternoon, starting early Friday, and having the opportunity for a field trip Friday afternoon. And I think there'd be great value in looking at some local sites, but then also former Commissioner Drew and former Commissioner Macbeth have issued an invitation to the Cave Valley Ranch. Bill and Mike Macbeth, Dana Johnson is the ranch manager. There's been a significant amount of habitat work down there with heritage funds in cooperation with the department. And they saw that as a great opportunity to highlight some of the pinyon juniper, some of the landscape level treatments down there, and demonstrate some of those benefits. It's about an hour and 15 minutes, hour 30 tops, from Ely down to that site. If there's a desire by the commission, they also invited us to, indicated they would be willing to host a barbecue down there Friday evening. So certainly we can work with you, Mr. Chairman, on possible logistics and details as we develop this agenda. And I think with what you had said, what I had, I think that concludes all the potential items.
Thank you. I think that covers agenda item 21, unless anyone else has any agenda items or committee meetings. Okay, then we'll close that and move on to agenda item 22, public comment period. Persons wishing to speak are requested to complete a speaker's card and present it to the recording secretary. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes. No action can be taken by the commission at this time. Any item requiring commission action may be scheduled on a future commission agenda. Any public comment? Rob?
I see Rob Jacobson, Mr. Chairman. I see Mr. Ellers here today. He comes to our school, I think for I don't know how many years, at Fernley Intermediate School, and helps with our outdoor ed day. Does a great job, his crew, and we wanted to thank him for that. Also we do a teacher and I, actually Jesse Weller is our chair on our committee. He's a teacher, and we have 2 days, 2 different sessions at our school where we run Hunter's Education, and the Hunter's Ed crew does a great job of getting a trailer out to us and helping us with that. So if you could pass on our thank you to those ladies as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Gil?
I will. What's that?
Yes, for the record, Gil Yannick, President of Friends of Nevada Wildlife. I want to sincerely thank the department for all their help, their support, the donations from all the employees of the various game and different foods that were prepared. It was really a great event. I think people really enjoyed it. The food was great. And just in closing, I want to say thank you very much for your help and all your support, staff and everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Gil. Any additional public comment? Mr. Bunch?
Glenn Bunce, Mineral County. I just want to go out and say thank you guys again for coming to Hawthorne. We appreciate it. The next time you decide to come back, we'll try to figure something to do as good or better than we did yesterday. I don't know how it can happen, but we'll see what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you again.
Rob Mathias, Chairman of Mineral County Sports Club. Again, we want to thank you for holding this your meeting here and letting Mineral County Sportsman Club be a part of it. And just hope you guys come back, and we'll do something fun next time too. So again, appreciate you guys.
Thank you very much. Any public comment?
Steve Marcus, White Pine. That field trip barbecue, that's to include all cab members, all you guys, and all NDOW employees that are there. Just thought I'd make that known. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll stand adjourned and see everybody in Ely in August. Have a happy 4th of July.